a small van. My legs are too long. Where do I put them? I dream about a coaster bus where I could stand up without a fuss, and crawling inside wouldn't be a must. But I would miss this tiny van. I've got a small van.
Hi, I'm Jana. I am 6'2" and I deliberately chose to live in this tiny van. And people often wonder, how does somebody this tall live in such a small van, and why? I actually used to live in a much bigger van, and I loved being able to stand up, obviously. I had a proper kitchen, I could stand around and cook, I could get dressed standing up, I could even have a shower inside, and I had loads of room. I had a bike and all sorts of other toys. I spent 5 years living in that van in New Zealand, but then when I was moving to Australia, I took it as an opportunity to try something different. And I'm saying try because at first when I was buying this van, I wasn't even sure that I can really do it. And that's why I didn't make any major modifications to the van, because I wasn't sure whether 1 year later I will be like, yeah, nah, I can't do it, sell it, buy something bigger. But yet here I am more than 3 years later, and I actually really like it. But let me tell you, once I'm back in Perth, I will be building some shelves for this site, because traveling remotely and having all the extra supplies made putting stuff away neatly quite challenging. And I'm sick of my lack of storage. So if you're in Perth and I could borrow your jigsaw or drill for an afternoon, please let me know. I would be forever grateful. I had a comment once, something along the line, maybe you should have saved a bit longer, then you could have bought a bigger van. And it's this assumption that I bought this small van just because I couldn't afford anything bigger that makes me chuckle, because my large van in New Zealand cost me 6,000 New Zealand dollars, and this small van cost me 20,000 Australian dollars. So it's not because of the price, because I couldn't afford a bigger van. I just wanted a four-wheel drive, and I didn't want to deal with rust. I don't want to see rust ever again in my life. I had to scrap the roof of my large van every year for the inspection, and never again. That was hell. Every time somebody asks online in a Facebook group, for example, whether being able to stand up in a van is necessary, the majority of the answers will be saying that not being able to stand up is not life worth living. The other day somebody asked this question in a women's group, and I was really surprised by the answers, because there were like 70 comments and only 5 of them were in favor of a small van. And that's something I wouldn't have expected from women, because in my mind, women are on average shorter, and I think they are also a little bit more agile. Like, I don't meet many men who could sit like that, although when I go to Vipassana there's plenty of them, yeah? So it's not like I think men can't do it, they can, but I am going down the rabbit hole here, but you get the point. And I bet many of these people who commented have never been in a small van, because their imagination of how you would, for example, cook in a van like that is a little bit comical, because they say they would hate bending over while cooking. So I think they think I cook like this. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh no. When in reality, this is how I cook. What bending over? Of course, I do not want to diminish anyone's lived experience. There definitely are reasons for why people could not live like this. For example, there was this lady mentioning some fusions in her neck, other one mentioning back injuries, or if someone had issues with their hips and couldn't sit like this, then I totally understand that would make it hard. I got a comment once saying, "Why are you sitting like this in the dirt? That's just weird. Why don't you get a camping chair?" Just to clarify, I'm not sitting in the dirt, even though it looks like this. I have a really handy kneeling pad from Bunnings that I sit on, or I also have my trusty carpet. And I hate camping chairs. Most of them are really uncomfortable, and the comfortable ones take a lot of space. So, no, I'm happy on the ground. This is my preferred sitting position ever since I was a child. I used to sit in my room on the carpet and play with my cars or animal figures. And I have been known to this day, while visiting friends, to walk right past the couch and plumping myself onto the floor. So, let's look at some more of these comments. My bed back wouldn't allow me to bend over so much. Understandable. I have been living in a Dodge Grand Caravan since February 23. It sucks. If you enjoy cooking, you're going to hate bending or constantly moving a stool. I regret every day not being able to stand up inside my van. If I didn't have this high top, I would be miserable and dread every single day of van life. I gotta stand up and stretch. There was another comment complaining about not being able to stretch. If only we had a huge backyard where we could stretch to our heart's desire. I'm sorry. Let's have a look at these 5 positive comments, okay? I added hard flooring and a rolling stool, and this is something I would totally do if my van was a bit larger. For example, if it was a Hiace. I even had a rolling stool in my large van, and it was awesome. It never bothered me, but I'm outside of the van unless I'm sleeping or it's raining. It didn't bother me a bit. Learned to adapt and made sure I built my bed to the height that I could sit up comfortably. I'm now in a 20-foot Toyota RV and I miss my van. Oh yeah, being able to sit up on the bed is really great, and I don't have that, I must admit, because I had to prioritize underbed storage, but I just sit on the ground. I love my minivan, would not want a high top unless money was no object and stealth was unnecessary. Exactly, the stealth factor is really big for me too, and the 4-wheel drive capability. And the last one is another person who doesn't mind because they spend a lot of time outside, and that's a great way to do this. However, I don't want anyone to think that if you are in such a small van, you have to be outside, you are pretty much forced to be there, because I can be a couch potato too, and I can spend the whole day in here, and it's okay. I mean, usually you do not stand up while you are scrolling on your phone. You shouldn't be doing that. Or reading books or playing games, watching movies. I just don't understand why is it so hard for people to imagine that you can be comfortable in a horizontal position. And I always say I'm not domesticated anymore because I got so used to eating in my bed. It sounds bad, doesn't it? But it's just a normal thing for me now, and when I'm visiting friends and there is nobody to sit at the table with to eat, I just take my plate to bed. I maybe don't say it to my bestie, but I think she knows. I will insert a few more of those negative comments just in case you wanna pause and have a read. Wow, I have so many flies. I should close it here. This one, for some reason, rubbed me a little bit the wrong way because I feel like it suggests that minivans are primarily for people who are crappy drivers and who do not dare to drive anything larger. I beg your pardon, I'm a truck driver. There is no vehicle large enough to intimidate me. And this one sounds like my ex who still insists that I do need a Sprinter van. I'm so glad other people know better than me what I need. Anyway, so what are my deal breakers when it comes to size? How small can I go? Well, I have two conditions. One is that the space behind the driver's seat has to be longer, or at least 2 meters, so that I can stretch all the way, because I'm a belly sleeper and I sleep fully stretched out. And I need enough vertical space to be able to sit on my toilet comfortably without having to bend in half. And that's it. But Jana, how do you dress? Well, I just put my pants on while lying on the bed. And if they are dirty, if it's my work uniform, then I just sit in the front seat and swing my legs outside and dress that way. It's not the most comfortable, but I mean, you're getting dressed and undressed maybe 2 or 3 times a day. It's like a few minute task. And I'm not going to put up with having a large van just so I can be comfortable for those few minutes. And sure, there definitely are things I miss about my large van. The kitchen is definitely one of them. For a while, I barely cooked in this van because my single burner gas stove was such a pain in the butt. But then I switched to electric cooking, and now I have got a kettle, an instant pot, and a toaster, and I'm actually cooking heaps again. Especially now that I'm traveling in remote areas and can't go buy fresh food every day. But the biggest thing I love about this van is not the interior, of course, it's what I can do with it. Underground garages are super handy, especially when it's hot. I can go down little tracks, I can drive onto the beach, and that matters to me more than being able to stand up while I make my breakfast. And please don't forget my massive backyard, where I can stretch and stand as much as I like. Sometimes I will camp next to someone in a large van, and I'm looking at you, Leanne, and I see them just effortlessly pottering in their kitchen, and I think to myself, oh, isn't that nice how they can just do that? But then I drive my little van through the sand and get somewhere their van can't reach, and I'm pretty damn happy with my choice again. Although, Leanne, please don't get me wrong, I would love for you to be there with me. I suppose when I had the large van, I was looking a little bit down on the small vans as well, like my van is so much bigger. But now I look at the large vans and I'm just thinking, yeah, nah, that could not take me to Greenpool. So if you are also tall and you are thinking about van life, please don't automatically assume that you need a huge van. You can be happy in a large one, and you can also be happy in a small one. It all depends on your health, personality, and intended lifestyle. I think there are more important questions you should be asking yourself, like, for example, how much stuff are you going to be bringing? Do you have some place to store some excess stuff at your friend's place, or do you have a storage unit, or do you have to cram all your life into the van, like me? What equipment are you going to be hauling? There is a big difference between somebody who just wants to go to work, sleep, eat, maybe go for a walk, read a book, watch a movie, or a person who needs to bring a bike, a paddleboard, golf clubs, paragliding wing, diving gear, or whatever you are into. Where are you going to be living? Are you going to be staying in a city, trying to fly under the radar, or are you going to go to remote places or paid caravan parks or campgrounds? Or are you going to be parked up at your friend's or a family member's property? And what climate are you going to be in? Are you going to be needing a heater or an AC and appropriate power setup to power it? Are you working? What kind of work? Can you work remote? Do you need to set up an office inside of your van? Or are you going to be doing seasonal work? Or perhaps you are retired and you don't have to worry about any of this. Are you comfortable driving a large vehicle? Do you mind not fitting into underground parking? The maybe higher fuel consumption? And what's your budget and your willingness to deal with rust? See, there are so many questions you should ask yourself when you pick a van. And the van you will choose will very much depend on your health, how bendy you are, and how comfortable you are dealing with maybe a little discomfort here and there. Will I ever move back into a large van? Maybe, probably, when I get older. Campgrounds will get cheaper then as well. I just discovered that while I was paying $15 a night at Cape Ranch, my friends were paying only 10. What a perk of getting older. At least one thing to look forward to. But I'm not too eager to give up my little van just yet. Although, I must say, I actually bought lottery tickets the other day, and the price is a large Mercedes all-wheel drive fancy van, and I thought, well, if I got it for free, I would probably live in it. Yeah, I would do the sacrifice and live in it. But then I slept on it, and I realized that if I won it, I would very likely either sell it or try to get cash instead of it, put it in my investments for retirement. Because I really hate the conversion. I have a feeling sometimes people who make conversions never really lived in a van, because how would you make something like that when you have so much space to deal with? I would honestly rather stay in this small van than to move into this, because it makes me kind of mad that people who do this for a living have no imagination whatsoever. So let's have a look at it together, and you can tell me whether you agree or whether I am just totally... This is how it looks from the outside, and so far so good. This back screen is one of the few things I really like. And swivel seats. I would really love some swivel seats. I just wonder if that's real leather, since the lottery is organized by an animal charity. It has the same vibe as all those sausage sizzles for a local shelter, like here. Buy a piece of dead animal to save another animal makes total sense. Look at the kitchen! Why do you have such a tiny kitchen in such a big van? Okay, you can lift the folding table to extend your bench space, that's better than nothing. But where are your cupboards for your pantry and cooking equipment? And why is the kitchen blocking most of the doorway? The fridge. It seems like the only space where I could have my hanging wardrobe, so yeet! The fridge would have to go. The overhead cupboards on this side would have to go too, because they wouldn't be overhead for me. They make me feel a bit claustrophobic, and I wonder how many times I would bump my head into this corner. I would definitely sleep only on this half of the bed. I wouldn't even bother making it into a big bed. The other half would have to get ripped out. Extend the kitchen instead, maybe chuck a chest fridge freezer in there since the fridge would be gone. Yeet. And what I hate most is that both sides of the bed are ending against a wall. You have a kitchen on the left side and bathroom on the right. That seems very uncomfortable for tall people. I'm used to my feet hanging off the end, and you want to tell me that I wouldn't be able to stretch comfortably in such a humongous van? I don't know, maybe the bed is more like 2 meters long, it better be, but it just bugs me. This whole thing seems to me like it has been designed by somebody who has never lived in a van for a minute. Please let me know in the comments if you want this van, would you keep it or would you sell it? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!
I've got a small van, my legs are too